Boom, Katie's in.
Yeah.
What's up, Katy?
Yeah.
Like podcast you right now. I'm gonna hit you with my podcast voice.
Dude.
Are you ready
Oh,
for it? You're
Heck
not ready
yeah.
for it.
I'm not ready.
is that that's different from the Katy Couric voice?
It's the same. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
I do with that 5 o'clock weather. But
This
yeah,
is
I had to
awesome.
Love
go
it.
in and get microphone permissions. I didn't realize that I didn't have the permissions on, so sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I did the same thing. So
Very cool. No, so I really like this platform. I think it's great. It's a great way if we can regularly, get on, just talk stuff out. I think it's a great way to let people voice concerns, let people get their points across. We can do more than just martial arts, but I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for stopping by.
Oh yeah,
Especially,
I
heck yeah.
I think that you're a great conversationalist. I'm looking forward to hearing your platform and what you have to say. Um, I've had some really great conversations with you in the gym, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say on here. So glad to be here.
oh, you definitely are hitting it with the podcast voice.
I know.
I want
So
to
we
know that
got
like Chad's giggling in the background. He's all tee.
he can jump on too. Tell Chad to get on. I need his Twitter.
His Twitter.
Um, but I do have some news, so we can at least talk about something. I planned these things for 30 minutes. We can do 30 minutes a night. You guys don't have to stop by all the time, but anytime you're welcome. Especially if you have something you want to talk about. These are going to be recorded, so we can play them back. We can use them to really, like I said, promote, use the platform, and get our points across. But
Sweet.
so this just dropped today. Well, it's on the website listed as today. The official list of the ADCC brackets are out, and they are
Oh,
freaking
dope.
stacked.
That is super exciting.
Yes. So you can go to the ADCC website. It's got the whole list. There's a ton of people. I don't know how deep you guys get on following these guys, but I mean, definitely some super stacked brackets.
Who would you say is your number one person you're looking at right now?
There's so many different weights. The one Professor Spencer posted the one of those brackets today that's super stacked. I think it was the 77 kilograms. So
Mm-hmm.
that's got JT Torres, it's got Cade Rotolo, William Tackett, Mika Galval's there, Roberto Jimenez, Lachlan Giles, Lucas Lepre, Nicky Ryan, Gary Tonin, Dante Leon. Now, like
Oh wow.
I'm not super super big in like deep into following these guys, but I mean those are all names I know just from
Yeah,
the last year or so of following.
for sure with Lachlan Giles. That's hopefully he goes.
That is a really stacked organization. All right. So, better question, obviously more important. Who's your favorite woman that you're
Ah,
looking at right now?
let's do
The
that.
women's bracket.
Yeah. Got
Let's check
some
it out. Okay,
Gabby
so
Garcia.
what's up, Beckham? Hey, you got a Twitter? Jump on Twitter. All right, so they've got two female brackets. They
Okay.
have a they have a female 66 kilogram. Um, and I'm going to be honest, none of those are names that I know, so it's wide open for me, at least not at first glance. Um, like I said, I'm not super deep into this. I've only been doing it for the last like year and a half, 2 years. And then Gabby Garcia is the only name I know out of the 60 plus. Hey, I'm on live right now. Um, so Gabby Garcia in the 60 plus kilograms. Did you have a favorite, Katy?
I didn't. I have been trying really hard to get active and kind of like following women, seeing who, because of course, like as coaches, y'all always tell us, find someone you want to emulate. And so I think that lately I've just been trying to see who's up and coming, who's kind of near my weight class and who kind of rolls like I do. So I've definitely been looking to see who I want to follow. But it's great to hear from other people who they're kind of keeping an eye on as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can remember being a white belt and listening to Spencer and some of the higher belts talk about all these guys like they were sports stars. And I looked at these guys like they were crazy because I could name, every starting quarterback in the NFL at the time. Now, 2 years later, I know nobody in the NFL, and I know, you know, a lot more Brazilian dudes and women. Um, but it's so cool.
I think that I think it's almost just this amazing kind of inspirational thing where you start off right. I was a football fan too. Not as hardcore, like I couldn't name everyone, but I used to really follow football. And the thing was that it was hard to feel related to them, right? Because you may have played football in high school or middle school or whatever,
Yeah.
but you don't feel related to. But when you see these BJJ people and they're like, yeah, I grew up poor, I grew up in the hood, I came from nothing, and now I'm here and I'm succeeding like that. And you can see those success stories, and you're active in that martial art and you're active in that community. It's a whole different feeling of like inspiration and closeness. And so I think it's really cool to see these guys and kind of follow along, because I have people that I follow on Instagram, right, who have started beating big names in jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of cool to watch them glow up. So it's amazing to just kind of continually be active in this community and get to keep feeling and keep seeing people as they continue to be successful.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you know I've talked about like my nephew a lot, who loves football. We've always grown up liking football, but I mean, in all reality, unless you're going to be, you know, if you're unless you're a massive specimen or born with crazy talent, you're not making it to the NFL. But this is something that everybody can strive for, you know, and with like esports and stuff taking over more and more, I think jujitsu is something that that most normal people could see themselves competing at, if not at the highest levels, definitely at some level.
Oh yeah, like I 100% agree. And I think that's kind of the allure of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? Is there's no one that's going to tell you don't compete, right? Unless unless your coach is like, listen, man, you're not ready yet. You can sign up for pretty much any tournament, and you have such a wide variety of tournaments to sign up for, right? You have the home ones, and then you start getting into the Naga and the bigger ones that you have to qualify for. But you have that ability to say, I want to compete so I can step on the mat. You don't have to wait for trials. You don't have to wait to see if you make the team. You can just go and you can push yourself as much as you want and as much as your coaches want you to, without the fear of saying like, shoot, I won't be good enough, because you can just jump in and try it. And I think that's something that's amazing for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and amazing for anyone that wants to go in and try it, because you have the capability to just go and say, all right, I'm going to jump in and compete, pay that $50 fee and get in there.
Yeah, it's exhilarating. It gives people something to look forward to. I know, like me, I always competed in sports in high school, and then after high school, the vast majority of people who can still be athletic or still want something to work towards can have that, and they can still work towards something either in a team oriented way or in an individual way. It's unbelievable. um, so Katie, the we were talking about this. I didn't know I was going to use Twitter, but I was messing around with this idea of this type of series, bringing people on and talking about jujitsu, and it's awesome that it worked out like this. And you're my first guest, so um,
Yay.
I wanted to ask you the question that I was going to ask anybody that I bring on the show, and that was the $1 million question: is how has jujitsu changed your life?
Oh boy. Okay, well, first of all, sorry, Goyo. That's what you get for being a listener. Oh man. All right, I'm gonna get a little sentimental, I suppose. Um, I, for a lot of my life, was not very healthy. When my dad passed away, the one thing I could control was my weight. And so for me, that meant that I wasn't going to eat anything, because if I could control that, then suddenly life didn't seem so crazy, right?
Right.
And then I met Chad, and Chad got me back into martial arts, but I had done karate when I was really young, and I didn't really get to appreciate it for what it was. And that's a big regret of mine. I wish that I could have paid a little bit more attention, but you know, when you're a kid, you don't really fully comprehend what you're doing. You know, you go and you do some
Yeah.
punches and kicks, and you're like, this is a good time.
Right.
But when I met Chad, he told me, you know, I want you to be healthier. And I think A, that's a good relationship, and B, that's a good man. So I was like, all right, you know, we're going to try. Well, I couldn't find anything that made me want to be healthier. You know, I was like, I can skip meals. It's fine. Well, one day Chad's like, you ever heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I was like, yeah, not really. He's like, well, it's kind of like wrestling in a way. And I was like, okay, like I can relate to wrestling. He's like, you want to give it a try? And I was like, sure, dude. So we're at his karate dojo, and this man just starts wrangling me on the floor. And I'm like, oh, what is it? And let me tell you, growing up with brothers, I was already used to like ground fighting.
That beat
And we
up,
did some of
right?
that in karate, right? Like we did some judo stuff, and we did some like self-defense from the ground. So I was sort of familiar. Um, but I just immediately took to it. There was something about it where it just clicked. Like people talk about fight IQs. My striking fight
Mm.
IQ is super low. Like I'd be bottom of the class for striking. However, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight IQ, man, it just clicked. Something just clicked with me. And so I started getting into it. But the thing is, you can't get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and not eat. There's
Right.
no way you can do such an intense, you know, like martial art and not fuel your body. And so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu honestly really helped me just become a healthier person, because I finally had something where I was like, man, I really got to start eating and I got to start being healthier. Otherwise I can't do what I love. And so for me personally, making a long story short, a roundabout way, if you will, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just made me a lot of a healthier person, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I would say for sure, being a small lady, sometimes it can be a little hard because it's intimidating. Going out
Right.
there and seeing a lot of people, and you're like, man, I'm just small. And especially like living in Las Cruces when I was up here by myself, right? I'm 105 pounds going to Walmart at 8 o'clock in the evening and getting scared, like being a little
Yeah.
afraid. And so,
For real.
being able to know, like, yeah, you know, if I'm on the ground, I have the very good capability of getting back up and leaving now because of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So for me, confidence for sure. I know that Samson called me a mat bully today, and I thought that was really funny. I was all, thanks, man. It's taken me like 21 years to get here, so appreciate that. But yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for sure has made me so much healthier and just so much more confident of a person.
That's awesome. You are kind of a bully. I sometimes I don't know what to do with you in our roles.
I don't know what to do with you. Listen, man, I think personally, it's a pet peeve of mine when people treat me like a delicate little flower.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I appreciate guys that are like, you know, I might be literally 200 pounds heavier than you, so I'm gonna roll accordingly. But that's a good excuse to be technical, right? Like, if you can't absolutely just crush me with your body weight, try moves you haven't been able to do on other people before, or learn how to close space, because I am a little lady and I use that privilege, dude. I will take like advantage of any holes you leave.
Yeah.
And that's something I find with like grappling with people bigger than me. And so, man, I think that as soon as I got my blue belt, I was like, you know what? If people want to treat me like delicate flower, I'm just going to capitalize on that and start triangling people left and right. So that was my, that was my
Love
thing.
it.
And that's a great comment. You know, I really like that because I think that's part of the challenge when rolling with the female students for us or for me is find a way other than brute strength to work a technique. And that's my overall approach to jujitsu, but it's not a lot of people's. And uh, I love that you bring that up, that this is kind of something you deal with every day, because I'd love to hear more about, like, you know, what are the pet peeves?
Mm.
What are the things that you experience as women on the mat? Because we've already seen men are very comfortable there. Men are very comfortable in this sport, but there's such a big future for women in this sport that I would love to hear, you know, more of your side of the story.
Oh, yeah, I would listen. I could rant for days.
Mm-hmm.
But I think kind of
Good.
I think a few different things that I've learned as a woman on the mat is, number one, like little advertisement for Zia. I have never experienced the kind of respect and like care that I have in Zia. And I've trained in quite a few different gyms. I've trained with a lot of different people. And I have never, like genuinely never thought that I was being like mistreated or people were intentionally trying to hurt me or like disrespect my bodily autonomy in any way.
Yeah.
So like little plug for Zia. That's something I really, really appreciate. But personally, I think I saw a post on Reddit the other day, which is what kind of made me think about this. But like a pet peeve of mine is men who don't roll with women. And don't get me wrong, like if it's a respect thing in your relationship where you're like, listen, my wife is uncomfortable, or it's a religious thing, that's fine.
Right.
But there is a certain type of person, man or like no gender or whatever, that doesn't want to roll with women because they're like, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to make you uncomfortable. And I'm like, listen, when we're on the mat together, my gender is irrelevant to my rolling ability. I don't care what gender you are. I'm just trying to strangle you. And so the only way that it gets uncomfortable is when people intentionally make it uncomfortable. And don't get me wrong, like we have one guy in the gym, right, who's probably pushing like 290. And if he doesn't want to roll, that's fine, because that's such a huge weight difference, you know, that sometimes it's just hard. But there are guys that will come to the gym and just kind of act like, oh, you know, you're a woman, so I just don't know if I can roll with you. And that's personally a pet peeve for me. It's good inspiration to make me want to strangle them even more.
Yeah,
for sure.
sure.
But I think, like, as a lady grappler, I will say though that the great thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it'll show on the mat. And so it doesn't really matter who you're rolling with. If you have good partners, if they have a feeling of biased for or against women, it's going to show on the mat, and you can address it accordingly. I think also another thing that's really great is having a good support system of coaches and friends there for you. Because, like, honestly, as a lady, you know, I've had days where I'm like, man, I'm just feeling like I'm getting my butt whooped right now. And I told you, Mark, the other day, I was like, man, every time you roll, you always have a compliment from me. You always have something nice to say. Even if it was a bad roll, you always have constructive criticism and you always have something nice to say. And I think that that can be really helpful sometimes, especially if you're rolling with a lot of bigger people.
Yeah.
So to me personally, I don't know if you have that experience too, Jacqueline.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
That's for sure something that has been really wonderful for me, is having great friends and having a good support system. I know for sure that if I ever had a problem with some guy being a creep in the gym, the entirety of Zia would have my back. So, yeah, like I would say pet peeve as a woman grappler is guys making it awkward for no reason. And then, like, my little shout out is for sure having such a great support system and coming in every day knowing I'm going to be treated as an equal, treated as someone who's just in the gym to train. So that's been a really great experience for me personally as a lady grappler.
That's awesome, and I think we've had some of this conversation before. I love it because, you know, I've had friends that say, you know, oh, you know, I would come to the gym, but you know, I just can't roll with a woman because you know, it'd be awkward, or, your response was awesome. He's like, man, there's nothing sexy about what we're doing.
Right.
We're here. Everybody's
When you
hair is
actually
messed
get
up.
to it.
Everybody's sweating. Like there's nothing attractive about what's going on the mat. The second thing I love is that you plug the title of the series without even being asked. That's how professional you are.
Oh, thank you.
You just hammered it home. But the reason that the title is that way is exactly what you said. Is, you know, on the mat, everything shows. There is no lying on the mat, and we've always said that in our conversations that I've had with you and other people, with Jackie a lot. You know, that's why that's the title of this series is, you know, on the mat there is no lying. And I know we would like, sometimes it's hard truths, and sometimes you can feel like, man, either life or jujitsu is really kicking me in the ass, and the feelings are the same. They're exactly the same. But yeah, I just love the opinions. I love what you two in particular, women, bring to the gym. Before you two got here, and you were the two first women to really come into the gym and make it your home. You guys, more than anything, have changed, you know, just the feel and the vibe of this gym, because Katy knows, and Jackie definitely knows that it was a boys' club before you two got here.
Yeah.
Oh man, that first day walking in with my mace first, I'm all, this is fine. We're gonna see if the vibes fit.
Right.
I know Mark told me the first day, fun fact, Jackie, the first day I came in, after I kind of like broke the barrier of being an uncomfortable new person, he laughed. He's like, yeah, you walked in and then you set your mace down on the bench right next to the mats. And we were like, oh man, she means business. And I was like, yeah, I did for sure.
Right.
But that's the thing is like with this gym, I feel like there's been so many opportunities for growth, and that's because it's just a healthy environment. There's no drama. If there is drama, it gets nipped in the bud really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's very welcoming. Like I've never seen you guys turn away someone who was there to actually train. Um, and I think that that's important in any martial art. You can tell the people that want to hurt people, and you can tell the people that want to train. And with Zia, I can't think of a single example of y'all turning away someone who wanted to be in there and train. And I think that's so important for a gym and so important in life, honestly, to be able to say, hey, you know, I see you. I see that you have the ability to be great, and we want you in here. And that's how I felt personally, especially as an honorary member of the Zia Breakfast Club, training with no one even close to my size.
Yeah, dude.
And I never once felt like I was a burden or that people got irritated because they had to train with me. And that's a big thing for ladies too. I know
Yeah.
people pretend like specifically not rolling with them.
Right.
And I never had that. I never had that experience. So right back at you with creating such a welcoming environment and such an open place for us to be, you know. Like again, there's never been a feeling of like, oh man, I don't want to train because so and so is there, or oh man, I get weird vibes from this person. Like it's always just been a family. And I think that above all else, if you want a good community, that's what you need, and that's what Zia has. So right back at you there with creating good vibes here.
Yeah, it has been awesome. We're really lucky, and you've got a ton of experience in martial arts, so you know how hard it can be with certain types of people who come in, or even just the people who have a difficulty just doing the martial art in general. It's very hard to make everybody feel welcome, but I think everybody's done an amazing job at that, and that's why everyone's having such a good time.
I agree for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. Like with a lot of martial arts, sometimes you have people that are just don't catch on, and I'm one of those people. I'm not ashamed to say that there's things that have taken me, like Darces, dude, for the longest
Right.
time. Darces would kick me in the butt, but now they're one of my favorite moves. And that's the thing with Zia is that you're all so like the coaches are patient, the students are patient. I know usually you'll pair an upper belt with a lower belt, and I've again never had an experience where I felt um, that people were getting irritated with my learning process. And so that's been a really big thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, uh, and then what you get from it is so many different minds, because if you take that brutish mentality that a lot of martial arts has traditionally been taught with, then you only get a specific group of people. But I think what we've succeeded to do is blend one of the most diverse groups of people, and then you get so many different perspectives on the movement. Because I'm the same way. It took me 2 years just to figure out the difference between Darce and Anaconda. I say that all the time. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
And then there's people that just come in and just get it, and it's awesome. Everybody can train together on the same playing field, even when it gets competitive, which is challenging.
Yeah. What I really like is how everyone has their own unique style to how they roll and everything that they do. That's what makes this so cool. That one thing with one person isn't going to work when you change it to another person. So always just having that ability to do your own thing, and not having you guys force us to, you have to learn this and it has to be this style or this move. It's just more fluid with, well, what works for you, right? What are you good at? But the learning process, even though we are going at a different pace, it just seems like you're all on the same level of just learning.
Yep. That's awesome. I want to thank you guys so much. This has been cool. This has been an awesome
I
first
really liked it.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad you're doing it. Listen, man, I love podcasts. This is about as close to a podcast as you can get without actually recording a podcast. So I'm glad to be here. Appreciate y'all both. You make Zia such a great experience. So I will plug the gym shamelessly for you without even being asked.
Thank you
Not
so much,
sponsored.
Katy.
Yeah. No, it's great. Now we appreciate it. And if there's any topics you guys got, I want to try to do this, like I said, as much as I can. So we'll talk as much as we can about jiu-jitsu. We'll wander on to different topics, and it doesn't have to stay just there. But if you have any ideas, let me know. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Peace.
Bye,
We'll see you
guys.
tomorrow.